feels weird not doing a Bachelor video after the rush of Remington for 4 videos in a row.
It feels profoundly healing to not be doing a Bachelor video right now. I spent so many hours editing that.
Okay, yeah.
I'm pissed.
A few orders of business before we start this video. Number 1, we need to give Tanner a round of applause for being such a trooper on the Bachelor videos. They have been an editing nightmare. For the most recent one, he must have spent, what, 20 hours editing?
Probably more.
So if you haven't been watching our Bachelor series, go watch it. It's very funny. Lots of people are saying.
I shouldn't talk it up so much. They'll be like, he spent 20 hours on this.
We want to give a huge shout out to our patrons, old and new. We have a lot of new ones in the last month, and we're so grateful to you. It is so cool that you want to support us, and you're helping us get closer to our goal of being able to make videos all the time, which would mean that we could make better videos
and make dinner all the time.
And we can eat dinner every single day. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. It's thanks to you. So thank you so much to all of you. And now we're going to dive into this Q&A and try and make this video not super long. Someone asked, what are Bernie and Banksy's Myers-Briggs types?
I think that they reflect our Myers-Briggs type. I believe that Banksy, should we get the cats and just hold them for this?
Yeah, let's grab them.
Everyone grab a cat.
Get the one that likes you best. Here's the thing, I think Banksy is an INFP because he's a little lovable, not super anxious. I don't think he's quite a T though, because he can be quite emotional, can't you, Banks?
Yeah.
Especially
sometimes I think T in the way he thinks about food. He's so like,
that's true, he's very
calculating, just constantly thinking about how to get his next fix.
Yeah, so then do you think Bernie's ENFP like you?
I think Bernie's an ENFP like me.
For context, I'm an INTP apparently, and Tanner's an ENFP. So quite different. I kind of wish we could do a whole video just taking their Myers-Briggs for real. Next question, someone said, what's your response to arguments that problems with the church's culture are due to the people, not the religion itself? Which I think we may have talked about before, but let's answer this again.
Let's do it.
We get asked this a lot.
So obviously, culture isn't created in a vacuum.
Our catchphrase. Jared's always like, yeah, like your main catchphrase is like, nothing happens in a vacuum, and I'm like, oh, kill me. But I really do say it way too much.
Yeah, but it's true. Nothing happens in a vacuum. Culture doesn't just come from nowhere. Doctrine informs culture.
Yes.
So in Utah, you have a high concentration of people who are practicing Mormon doctrine, and that's why Utah culture is the way that it is.
Yeah.
In places that are like super dense Catholic culture, granted there's always going to be like geographical things that play into
pockets of people that don't quite align with the culture.
Sure.
But in general, like the reason Utah Mormons are the way that they are is because Utah is the most Mormon populated area.
I'm trying to think of, it's been a long time, I'm trying to think of an example that people use when they talk about that sort of thing. Like, what's something about Mormon culture that people hate? So
people think about, I think when people think Utah Mormons, they imagine them being quite judgy. And it's like,
Imagine that. Imagine people who are taught that they're in the one true church on the face of the earth without doing any research.
That they're the most special people.
Or living in any other lifestyle, or practicing any other faith, or, you know, giving any meaningful investigation into other belief systems. Imagine them being judgy. I can't.
And it's one of those things where like Dieter F. Uchtdorf can get up and be like, don't judge, and like, you know, that resonated with me when I was Mormon. I think a lot of Mormons like that, but it's one thing to say it, and it's another thing for it to actually play out that way. And you have to remember that the church's teachings right now are the best they've ever been, and in the past, the prophets and apostles weren't as soft about people like apostates and gay people and women and, you know, all these marginalized groups as they are now. So like
soft.
now,
they still suck colossally.
Now, while they're still like pretty sexist, pretty ethnocentric, you know, all these things, this is the best they've ever been. In the past, like, it was way worse. Like, there has been, you know, decades and decades of teachings that have entrenched people in judgmental mindsets, and it's not their fault. Like, that's what they were taught every week. That's what they were taught at General Conference. So it's easy for the, you know, the millennial Mormons now to be like, no, the church teaches not to judge. And it's like, yeah, but if you go back and read old conference talks, it's like, it hasn't been like that in the culture. Even if it's like, I mean, Jesus said don't judge, but like the Mormon church hasn't like aligned super well with Jesus for the whole time it's been in existence by any means. So that's our answer to that. We could go on forever.
Do a whole video.
That person also said, bonus question, which of your cats is the maddest lad? It's for sure Banksy.
Banksy.
He's so clever at sneaking food. It's really quite incredible. And he's very dexterous.
An absolute
surprisingly
unit.
dexterous. Okay.
A thick boy, the works, he's all of it.
Someone said, do you think we'll ever have an apostle of African descent? I think, yeah.
Yeah, someday they'll kind of have to.
They're gonna have to, like, any day now. Like, if they're not already brainstorming, then... Ooh. Someone said, if you two were on Provo's most eligible, what would be your talents? Mine would just be fucking roasting Colin. That's what I would do. Your magic's coming along. I know that girl did
But she did a magic thing.
But yeah, she really seems to have the market cornered on that.
Maybe play a ditty. Some kind of ditty.
A little jingle. Someone said, and who would win, Sam or Tanner? Probably Tanner. Yeah. He's much more likable, polls really well with all demographics. It's truly remarkable. Okay, you, the Quorum of the 15, and the RNC. What's RNC?
Republican National Convention.
All survive a plane crash on a deserted island together, Lord of the Flies style. Everyone is at war because no one can agree on how to govern. Which, if any, group do you join, and how long do you expect to survive? I love how random this one is.
So Republicans and the 12 Apostles.
Wait, so is it saying like the Republicans are on one side, the Quorum and the 12 on the other?
I guess.
I'd probably be on the Republicans.
Yeah, Republicans.
I feel like they'd be more practical.
Yeah.
And like Republicans are really like, they seem prepared for a disaster such as this.
Yeah, hopefully there's some preppers among them.
Yeah.
Though the Apostles would be with the Republicans, so I don't really...
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there'd be much division. It'd be like all of them versus us. And honestly, Tanner will be able to talk his way around. He's such a good tree climber, like they can't kill him. Me, I don't know what I'm gonna do. If you are post-Mormon, should you raise children outside of Utah? Will they be victims of similar psychological abuse if they go to school in Utah Valley, for example? First of all, I would just say, like, we're in no place to give any shoulds. Like, I wouldn't be like, you should do this or you shouldn't do that. Like, it just depends on your circumstances. I definitely like the idea of not raising kids in Utah, but I also think that Utah is a really thriving tech state for, you know, tech companies, and it's getting less and less Mormon all the time. It's getting more progressive all the time. So, I mean, whatever you feel comfortable with.
I'm really into the idea of not raising kids
at all.
Ever.
I can definitely see why someone wouldn't want to raise their kids in Utah.
I'd probably do it in Salt Lake.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah.
Anywhere outside would just be, I think, too much.
Somebody said, if you were invisible and had access to the prophet's office for a day, what would you do? No limits, go crazy.
Wow. I was invisible for a day. I wouldn't spend it in the office.
I know.
President of the Mormon
but
Church.
Assuming you can only use... I mean, I'd just love to be a fly on the wall. I'd also just love to read whatever shit's lying around.
I'd probably pull pranks. Just little harmless pranks.
Yeah.
Not ones that would like seriously injure him or...
I'd stage a video where we make them think that some kind of like divine thing has happened, but we film it, we punk them,
yeah.
and we expose them.
Yeah. Or lead them to believe it's some kind of poltergeist.
Sexy poltergeist, hungry for their bodies. We've got this question before. We may have answered it in a different Q&A, but we always have new subscribers, so we'll answer it again. Do you think the First Presidency of the LDS Church is aware they're part of a lying, manipulative cult, or do you think they're just as clueless and brainwashed as the rest of the members? A strongly worded question.
Great question.
But we'll take the heart of the question. I do not think they're aware that they're part of a lying, manipulative cult. I think they're well aware that the church is not what the members think it is, but they justify it in their minds as like, the members can't handle, you know, the higher truth, like what I think they know it's more fucked up than the members. Obviously it's like justified in their minds, so they don't necessarily think of it as fucked up, but I do think they see it very differently than they teach members to see it, or differently than how members do see it.
Right.
But I don't think their brains would be able to realize it was false.
I like the quote that says, the difference between a religion and a cult is that a cult, there's one person who knows that it's a scam, and in a religion, that person's dead.
Yeah.
So it's to the point where like the scam is self-perpetuating.
Yeah.
So they've all been indoctrinated since they were kids and taught to associate their, you know, circumstances with the happy feelings that everybody in the world has, and they think, oh, I have the spirit, I have revelation, whatever, and it's like, no, you're just a human experiencing simple human things. but as they rise through the ranks and everything is just constantly confirmation bias. I think there might be some, and have surely been some, who have a lot of cognitive dissonance about it.
For sure.
And who have like maybe anticipated more spiritual experiences or something, and then didn't get that and were somewhat dissatisfied. But I think for the most part, they're like genuine believers.
I think the psychological wiring is way too deep. And also once you've had like the second anointing and you're taught to believe that you're an apostle of Jesus Christ, like it's hard enough for the average faithful member to realize it's false just because of the layers of programming, that when you're that high up, I can't even imagine like what a deprogramming process that would be. It's just insane.
Yeah, you've got to already be so church broke by the time you get up there. Like
they even said that, didn't they?
Yeah.
What was the quote? Someone said, was it like an apostle who they like recorded saying we get people who are church broke? Yeah, God. Someone said, what is the worst confrontation you've had from a Mormon after you left the church? I don't know that one springs to mind, but I've had a lot of similar ones where it's just people, insinuating that you are a sinner, all the usual stuff.
Yeah, I've had good friends who just like cut me out of their life with no explanation. Other ones who accuse me of doing terrible, not like really egregious things, but just like you just wanted to do this or that, or you're so bitter and angry and da 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 da. It's like, okay, whatever.
Or like be so happy and laughing so much in our videos, and people were like, I can just tell that you're miserable.
Once the lights and the cameras go off, we crawl under our rock and weep.
Someone said, do you think that Provo is an ethno state? I mean, the data would suggest
Could be worse. Rexburg.
This is a horrifying question. F, marry, kill the first presidency.
Is Eyring still in there?
Who is it? It's Russell, Eyring,
and Oakes.
It's not
Kill
even Dieter.
Oakes.
Like if Dieter was in there, I'd be like, I'd have to marry him.
Throw Oakes out of a plane. Oh yeah, you can't even fuck Dieter.
I know.
What's the point?
Okay, so wait, who is it? Russell, Oakes, Eyring. Eyring would cry during sex. But he might be the least terrible one to be married to.
Yeah, I think I'd marry Eyring. He'd be a good wife.
No, yeah, he seems the most sensitive. Like the other two seem so scarily toxic masculinity.
Yeah. So yeah, kill Oakes. Fuck Nelson.
Yeah, but at least you could say you'd like.
At least.
Fuck the prophet. Ooh. But it's a grim set of options. Someone asked us, who's our celebrity crush?
David Byrne.
I have a huge crush on Hassan Minaj. Who doesn't?
Also, Florence Welch.
Oh my God, yes.
I want her to just stomp my guts out.
Punch me in the face. Yeah.
Break your guitar over my head. Do whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes for what? For her to get off. Whatever she needs. Okay, the next question is for me, and someone said, how big of a role did leaving the church play in ending your marriage? Do you think that it would have happened inevitably, even if you had both somehow stayed religious and oblivious? So for those of you who don't know, I'm divorced. 10 out of 10 would recommend. And it's tough. I mean, I got married because of the church, so I guess in that sense it played a huge role in my marriage ending because it was the reason I had a marriage to begin with. But it wasn't like we left the church right at the beginning of our marriage and got divorced like 2.5 years later. I think if we'd stayed in the church, we probably would have stayed more compatible with each other, or like would have been more on the same page, and like I don't know. I don't know that it would have been inevitable either way, but I'm really glad it worked out the way it did. This person said they've never been Mormon. They said, let's pretend I'm married to a woman and I'm Mormon. My wife, who I love very much, goes out of town. This guy decides to please himself while his wife is out of town. He doesn't cheat and he doesn't use porn. Would Mormons say that that was some wacky sin, or that he was cheating on his wife? They wouldn't say he was cheating on his wife.
I've definitely heard that.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say they would say it was a sin, but I don't know that. I probably wouldn't have thought of it as cheat, but I'd be like, oh, that's not okay.
I've definitely heard it put in that exact terminology.
Oh God.
That watching porn is akin to adultery. That it is like.
Well, this guy's saying if they don't watch porn, they just
watch
masturbate.
porn. Oh yeah, they'd probably just say it was like wrong.
Yeah, I think there's some more modern Mormons that if like the wife was involved somehow through like a digital device, they might be okay with it.
Phone sex?
Yeah, it just depends though.
I have actually heard of people saying it's being like it's cheating on your spouse with yourself because they're the only one that's supposed to like get you off sexually.
Have a fun sex life, Mormons. That is.
It's their way of like totally crippling you sexually.
Yeah. Well, and especially
That's so
for women, it's even worse for women because women really like have to do self-exploration. I feel like for a man maybe it's a bit different, but women really have to like learn about their own bodies, and you aren't really allowed to.
Right.
Side question: if you meet with a Mormon and ask them a question, they will say one thing, and another. This is someone who isn't Mormon, and another will say something else. Do Mormons get their own planet? I had a Mormon tell me point blank to my face, yes. But then I found this Mormon newsroom article that says basically no.
You don't get your own planet. You get your own universe. You get your own. It's so stupid.
Nobody fucking knows about that one, do they? Because they used to teach it, and now they're like, ooh, that's a bit weird, so we're not going to teach it anymore.
Yeah, well, they still teach the same thing. They just change the wording. They're like, we've never said that you get your own planet. We just say that you become a god.
Planet sounds a bit sciencey for kind of what we're going for with this sort of vibe that we're doing.
Yeah, no, the idea is that you'll become heavenly parents of your own, with your own children, that you'll populate your own creations, be they planets or whatever.
Can I just say, if I was a Mormon and I got like my own universe, I wouldn't make any fucking humans. I'd just make a bunch of like happy animals.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, well. Okay. Someone said, what do you think of the whole progressive Mormon movement, particularly on Twitter and stuff? Are they doing a good thing by trying to make the church more inclusive and loving to marginalized people? Or are they just keeping marginalized people in a harmful religion?
Yes and.
Yeah, it's both. I think the progressive Mormon people have value in that they can help some of the more dogmatic Mormons sort of loosen up a bit. But yeah, they also can sort of encourage others to stay in a religion that, you know, is demonstrably false and that does do harm. So it.
Yes, last night I saw a tweet that said, the Book of Mormon doesn't have to be historical to be true. One.
Okay, but that guy has now deleted that tweet, and you're gonna die. His explanation for deleting it was that it was insensitive to Native Americans. His reason for thinking that was not insensitive as in like because Joseph Smith made up a fucking book about Native Americans that proclaims to be like their history that is not their history. No, he's saying that him saying the Book of Mormon isn't historical is offensive to Native Americans, as if Native Americans claim the Book of Mormon as their history. There's like a small amount of Native Americans that have been, you know, Mormons have come in and taught them this new story, and they may have adopted it, but they do not speak for all Native Americans. Like, this is not, it's bullshit. It makes me so, this is truly the worst progressive Mormon take, is this bullshit idea that like not believing the Book of Mormon is historical is like offensive to Native Americans because it's erasing their history when it's not their history.
No, the Book of Mormon, it pretends to be their history, and in that it says that God gave them black skin to make them unattractive to white people.
Deeply offensive, super, like so much erasure. It's like some white man's fantasy story about Native Americans. Joseph Smith was making up stories about Native Americans when he was like 7 years old. God. That's truly my least favorite of all the takes that Mormons have made on Twitter in the last few years. It's horrifying.
But yeah, so to answer the question, progressive Mormons do a little good, do a little bad.
Yeah, and truly, like, things are moving forward. Mormons are less homophobic, less racist, less sexist. And I do see ways that, you know, the progressive Mormons on Twitter are sort of helping that. But it's also kind of, like, I don't know, I want like Mormons in that mindset to have a safe space, but it's also kind of like, I guess they're creating like an interim space, but for some of them they'll never leave the interim space and like realize that it's not true, so it's just a weird,
I struggle sometimes with that, like the attitude of active Mormons will say to us, you guys could never be happy with any changes the church makes, and it's like, no, we're really glad for any progress that's made.
Anything that like lessens suffering is good, but obviously we ultimately want people to realize what's true and what's not true. Because you can change one thing, there's still a whole bunch of other things that are harmful that are still going on. So obviously we'd rather people realize it's not true so they can reject all of the harmful things, rather than be like, oh my god, thank you so much for making this change that makes the temple ceremony slightly less sexist, like decades after it was due. No, it is so quiet in here. It's like
Deafening.
It's deafeningly silent. This is crazy.
Look how angular his hips are.
It is spooky. I'm gonna take a video so we can show them.
He's gonna blow away in the wind.
Just cool. Well, thanks for joining us for this Q&A. I just want you guys to tell us how you're doing. Like, tell us something good that's happening in your life right now and something that's challenging in your life right now, if you feel like sharing.
Yeah.
Hopefully people don't think I'm a bitch for being so ranty.
No, that's what they want. That's what they come here for, the rants.
Okay, let's do a fun outro.
Love you.
Like a bit more. No, we're not doing finger guns. God.
Love you.
Bye.